And what do you remember was happening in the world in the 80s?
Well, in the 80s, I wasn't real into politics, and I have never really been, but of course, I remember President Reagan beating Jimmy Carter in the election and being very popular president. I remember while I was at college his being shot by an attempted assassin, and he was able to survive that.
Into history then?
History of the 90s, yeah, well, the Persian Gulf War, I guess, is the most historical thing of the decade, and that happened early. And other than that, let's see, the remainder of the 90s was, we've had a good economy after a bad recession in the early 90s. It's been so boring that we don't really care about the nature of our president in the 90s, and we're still happy with the way everything is because we have a great economy. And the final question on the 90s is, of course, what do you remember was happening in the world in the 90s?
One of the biggest events worldwide that I recall in the 90s is the Persian Gulf War. I remember, that was the first war that I experienced where I really was cognizant of the events leading up to the conflict, and then of course during the conflict, and I could better appreciate what the people involved were going through. Previous wars, I was a little too young and sheltered from that, but the Persian Gulf War was a big deal. I knew we would win. I was hoping we would win. I was hoping it wouldn't be another Vietnam, and I'm glad it went relatively glitch-free, and we did come out. I wish it would have had a long-term better ending, but overall I think it's fair to say we won that one. Beyond that, of course, President Clinton came on the scene, and overall I think he's done a good job. Of course, the Monica Lewinsky scandal was another big thing in the 90s. I don't think we'll all forget that very soon. It's too bad it happened, but I'm hoping that the next president will set a better example.
Of the 90s, anything you remember that was going on in the world in the 90s? Anything that you thought was significant?
The Chicago Bulls championships are very, very important and a big part of all our lives.
Forgot all about that.
And this Clinton situation is just too bad because of some of his personal life tragedies that have taken place. He probably could have gone down as one of the most successful presidents that we've ever had this not happened. But fortunately, the people that he's had in office to run the country from an economic and government standpoint have done a good job. I just hope that we continue to have peace and prosperity in our nation. I think we sit well as we go into the new millennium as still a major power in the world, and I don't like to use the term power, but I mean if that's what the term that is used throughout the world, then so be it. But we're here to take care of ourselves first, as far as our country, and then help the other unfortunate nations. I think that we sit in a good position to carry it forward.
In the 90s.
Would have been nice if you made a list and I could pick one of them out.
Well, if you can't remember, it's okay.
I don't remember what the heck ever happened.
Okay.
I know there's been a lot of heartbreak where there's been planes that went down, Oklahoma with the bombing. I think that there's a lot of happy things that have happened, but there's also been a lot of tragedies that I don't think that even up to today, that you wonder how people survive all of that, you know, and planes going down. I think this is all the big things, because it's such a monstrosity of people that are getting killed. It isn't one or two. It's, you know, there's planes around here, a couple, 2, 3 go down, but there's hundreds that go down in the other. And that's from all over the U.S. where people are leaving. So I think that's the big thing.
Question about the 90s is what was happening in the world in the 90s?
Well, of course, it was back in a few scrimmage at Kiwat deal, and
91, we did get pregnant. But we lost the baby. During the war of Iraq. And don't know if that had anything to do with it, the stress. But it was a major thing for us. And took some time to recover. Into 96, well, we have President Bill Clinton as president. Economy became better. Yeah.
The 90s.
Oh, well, all the communism was falling apart, which made a lot of people happy, me included. And then we got involved in the early 90s, we got involved in the Gulf War there. And that's when we finally got to see the stealth plane that they kept such a secret for a long time.